Dioxine is a weird dude. Early last year, that's 2022 for those watching in the future, the Pirates Discord was exploded, and all of its members sent to permanent Discord jail. The server had been up a while and was kinda known as an ongoing trash fire within OpenXcom circles. Beginning as a place for interested parties to discuss the mod and gradually transitioning into a secret clubhouse for Dioxine and a band of merry hangers-on to say the N-word and be just really mad about trans people. We are of course talking hard ER here, folks. No half measures. No censorship. Eventually, it became a hive of scum and villainy so vile that the powers that be decided the only move was to take off and nuke it from orbit. Only way to be sure. I've never really felt like I had to worry too much about the kind of content I was subjecting my theoretical audience to, mostly because the audience was theoretical, save for a few close friends and a lurker or two I picked up along the way. But having 2,000 pairs of eyeballs on me and knowing what I know now, I probably do gotta make some kind of quick statement here while we're still early days. So bear with me one moment while I tell you the tale of pirates. Someone said in the comments it might as well be considered its own game now, and frankly, I agree. The amount and variety of content entirely outstrips that of the base game, and the underlying systems themselves have been widely overhauled to encourage active play. You can be charging gloriously or running away, but you do gotta be moving. On a thematic level, Pirates is a weird anime boobs disaster, but on a technical level it's a goddamn work of art something like 10 years in the making, by a man who understands the underlying XCOM systems better than anyone else on the planet. Tragically, this is also a man who believes that a shadowy cabal of Jewish bankers secretly rules the world. Just a huge Kanye fan, that Dioxine. Can't get enough of his new shit. Should you play Pirates? Sure, if it looks interesting to you. It's a free mod, so the price is right, and I think there's a lot to like in there. Should you support the dev though? Categorically not. Dioxine is a bad, edgy baby man, and on a practical level he's also an unhinged conspiracy theorist, which in the modern era means he'll probably spend the money on non-fungible tokens and Bed Bath & Beyond stock. Should we be talking about this at all? Like, publicly? Maybe? It fits my notoriety threshold, being that it's stupid and I like it. That's both requirements right there. If you're wondering if we should open this particular can of worms, I tell you I have full editorial control of what comes out of this, and I like worms. But if I miss some kind of horrific dog whistle, do blow me up in the comments about it. If you're a member of any kind of marginalised group, wondering if this is a safe space for you to exist in, know that I am of you and I am on your side. Let's get right back into it. We do, tragically, have to pay our crew. Upkeep is pretty dang serious in this mod. Bases and base facilities will take a big chunk out of your monthly income, and brainers in particular are hugely expensive to keep around. The fighting gals themselves don't live too lavishly until they start getting to the higher ranks, but if you ever end up with enough that someone appoints themselves the Pirate Queen, you're gonna feel it. Right in the wallet. Oh, check it out. Weird map icon. We can't actually intercept them, and they tend not to stop, but a quick peek will show us some kind of ground-based convoy here. I don't know what game exactly this picture's taken from, but I assume it's one of them. We're gonna see a lot of contacts appearing or vanishing in the middle of our radar area, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, the initial spot is only a 10% chance every 30 minutes that pass. Although time passes extremely quickly, so we'll be rolling that a lot. And if they get close enough, one of our other facilities has a short-range 100% radar. Secondly, we're right by a bunch of cities people will take off from and stop at. It'll look like they just wink out of existence, but if we zoom in, we can see where they were likely going. Not that we can do anything about it. We're a robust but small criminal organisation, taking targets of opportunity where we can. We're not about to fight a whole town. And that do be a target, though. Temple raids are good eating. More dangerous than the goons the Academy sent after us, for sure. They're mid-sized, target-rich battlescapes with a ton of weak enemies who'll be trying to kill rather than capture us. Things can go wrong here a lot more easily than anywhere we've been before, but Life is dangerous and the temples are loaded up with treasure. Not to mention any funny little handguns people might use to try and stop us can be repurposed as our funny little handguns. The briefing hints at a stealthy option, but I genuinely wouldn't try it. The temple with all the loot in it also has the lion's share of the enemies. Better to deal with them up front, lest they shoot us in the back as we stagger out loaded up with stolen gems. It also warns that there are civilians in the area we should probably avoid killing. They are hostile civilians and will shoot at us on the semi-rare incidents of them spawning armed, but returning fire is going to cost us points. Ideally, we'd stun them and ransom them off later, but the penalty's fairly minor and they can be really annoying. My advice is to not stress too hard about it. If it's going to save you gals a wound or some minor damage to your personal sanity, take the shot. You might have noticed I didn't load out with particular regard to public safety. We had to leave the bus behind for this one, so as not to arouse suspicion. Not sure how well that panned out though. Here we can see the obligatory guy looking right at me. These funny little gnomes are altar boys of the church. Their stats are abysmal, and they're likely to spend most of their time panicking if any kind of fight breaks out. But they are frequently armed with guns. And if I remember, they get a bit of a buff to melee dodge from being so tiny. You know, someday we're going to come across someone I've never seen before, and I'm not even going to be able to tell you what their thing is. Scouting around our immediate spawn area, there's a civilian milling around beyond the orchard. Not too worried about that. Clicking the middle mouse button will let you see what you're looking at and what's in its hands, but I've played so much OpenXcom before I knew that, I can normally just go off what the tiny pixel man's holding. Detricker also has a wander, but finds nothing. Most of the enemies, of course, are going to be in the temple proper. They're in there. Can you hear them? Sharpening their knives. Don't know why I tried to take this shot. The chance of friendly fire is obviously way too high. I'm firing an explosive and the whole squad's lined up against that wall there. Luckily the game stopped me. It should be a disclaimer that I don't actually know what I'm talking about, I just have a British accent. Through the coming battles, I cannot be relied upon to make good decisions. You hear that? Each one of those noises is a door opening, somewhere inside the temple. Hoodlum blasts the civilian. Reaction fire does not discriminate between active combatants and otherwise. Eyes on a hostile maid over the road. I heard a gunshot but didn't see the shooter. Turns out I'd left Detricker facing the wrong way and she got jumped by a goon. Told you I'm not smart. Somehow she managed to deflect the attack of the lad who snuck right up behind her, leaving him facing the wrong way now. Hoodlum makes sure it's his last mistake. Another civilian in the farmhouse. My immediate reaction is to try and blast him. I wanted to show off wall breaching here. Kez has a sledgehammer and enough strength to take down a brick wall in one swing. Problem is, they saw me coming. There's just a big concrete block in there. It's looking like we might actually have to go in through the doors. There's an alley through here between the two buildings, which presents the most direct path, but in my experience, it's absolutely a trap. Enemies can drop down off the roof of the main building and ambush you. It won't happen every time, but when it does happen, it can be a disaster. Bullet weapons notwithstanding, enemies on these missions can wield Molotovs and hand flamers. If they're getting close with those, that's a recipe for a bad time. Right-clicking this button will remove one gal's remaining time units. You do this to make sure they don't take reaction shots, in situations where the risk of friendly fire is too great. In this instance, you know, she essentially has a black powder grenade launcher. I saw you go in there. Couple of quick punches leave the civilian in overstone. This is because humans are weak, stupid creatures that can neither be relied upon to die or not die. God damn, don't you just hate humans? Sharp Guy's another civilian. They're worth more in ransom dollars than the others. The smart thing to do would be to not shoot him. He's fine, folks. I'll bring up this screen in response to landing a non-fatal shot sometimes. All I'm looking for is the little bleeding icon.
This guy doesn't have it, so he also doesn't have fatal wounds. Fatal wounds will drain health from the unit every turn until they're healed, and you'll get them off most hits that deal more than a certain amount of damage. Here too? Fuck. At least we made a mess. Church neophytes are more untrained humans with toilet stats, but the weapons they tend to come with are an order of magnitude more serious than the smaller enemies. While an altar boy with a junk pistol might have an odds-on chance of damaging a gal at all with any given shot, alternatively seeing the hollow point round pancake on nothing but bare skin, this boy has a heavy shotgun. At close range, a good shot has a worryingly high chance of putting one of our ladies in the morgue rather than the sick bay. Car makes a spot through a window, out onto the balcony of the next building. I decide not to stay out and risk eating one of those heavy shotgun shells. It's always next turn for heroics. Sergeant levels a pistol against a civilian in the road, but Convict stops her, pulling out a truncheon. One whack doesn't do it though, and I'm feeling a little exposed here. It's always next turn, folks. Next turn. You don't suppose that lad's still on the roof, do you? Oh, he only is. We're starting to get real close to the danger zone now. The area through those doors should be lousy with them. In hindsight, I could have tried a second hammer swing at the inner wall blocks if I wanted to avoid coming around here. Not sure it would have worked, but I'm slightly disappointed that I didn't even try. The trick is to block both doors at once. Then anyone opening either will get stuck on the lead gals. After that, we have to rely on their kung fu skills to avoid taking hits. This would be a damn sight easier if we could use that alley. It's so much closer. We made another spot on the roof too, but it's too late now. We're committed. Now where'd that civilian go? Got him. Got the other guy we were supposedly trying not to kill over here too. Everyone else moves to battle stations, and I tentatively hit end turn. As if on cue, one dude leaps out and rams the barrel of his shotgun into Kez's face. She pushes it aside a moment before it goes off. His friend charges out behind him, also armed with some kind of long weapon, but he only throws punches, I think? With one arm still around the shotgun, Kez does her best job of fending him off. Another shotgunner opens the other door to go for a flank, but Brigand is a lot better prepared for a scuffle. Right at the end, a third boy armed with just a whacking stick runs out. Kez is all out of hands now, so she has to block this one with just her head. There's got to be a better way to do this. As is, we came off all but unscathed, but the risk of someone getting a face full of buckshot at any point there was too high. If one of them makes a move, that's a different story, but four at once? That's where you start having issues. Brigand mops up two of the guys piling on Kez with some fancy sword work, freeing her comrade up to deal with the Joker with a heavy shotgun. She has a moment of mercy, throwing a couple of quick jabs before realizing it's a lot more convenient to just end him with the hammer. This sledgehammer is a weird weapon. It's technically a gun under the hood, and can be deflected in melee as such. This is kind of a problem since it can only be fired against things one tile away, i.e. in melee. It's a lot less likely to happen than with a conventional gun though, and these guys have junk stats. As you might expect from our portable wall removing tool, hits like a freight train if you get through. Very little left of him now.
You know, people often ask me, Fruity, my funny little buddy, why does your weapon stats screen have an anal button?
Well, it's to be doing pretty good right now on the winning the mission side of things. Cost the don't kill all the civilians half of the briefing is still somewhere between, what's that? I didn't hear you, and we'll talk about it when we get home. Another shotgunner at the door fails to hit us, and Cora bops him on the nose with the butt of a gun as a reward. The man wobbles for a moment, but the vacant look in his eyes tells the story. The lights are off, there's nobody home. All that's keeping him up is the back wall. Judging by the fact we took out 4 guys in pretty short order there and heard maybe another 4 shit themselves, we're pretty close to wrapping this up, I'd say. This guy though, the church priest, he's a problem. Better stats than the others, immune to panic, and always well armed for this stage of the game. As far as I know, he'll always have either the heavy shotgun or the hand flamer. He is, however, the enemy leader. If he goes down, the rest are going to take a big morale hit. Probably enough to push him over the edge at this stage. There's a little back and forth, and he eats the first sword swing from Brigand. Another good chop though, and he goes down with a tragic Wilhelm scream. And that's the last word of it. 9 enemies or enemy-adjacent non-combatants are dead, another 3 in various stages of coma, and 4 who turned themselves in voluntarily when it all went a bit wrong. Despite some amount of internal clenching, the worst we came off with was a nasty bruise on Kez. Good mission. Not sure our prison cells can handle this actually, we're a bit full already on just the nurses. Why did you have 56 apples? All this stuff here is just shiny, sellable loot. Long term, they're researchable and probably lead to something worth getting hold of, but for now, we'd rather have the liquid funds. Turns out only one of the shotguns was heavy, by the way. The domestic shotgun just isn't as much of a problem for us. Less punch. Still, that's one heavy shotgun for the armory. We're going to be keeping those around for a while. And most of our gals are murderers now. A piece of their soul is gone. Ooh, check this out. Kez has to sit out a day on account of a black eye. Probably won't get any more missions that soon, but this is what we're trying to avoid. Gals have 20 points of armor all over their body, meaning that any attack that hits them does 20 less damage, before modifiers are applied, I believe. This is real handy. A lot of early weapons have a listed damage value of about 20, and shots always deal between 0 and 200% of that number. That 20 armor is dangerously close to the furthest point of our survivability onion though. We'd rather nobody see us at all. If they see us, they shouldn't live to get to attack. If they attack, by way of cover, deflection, melee dodge, or general inaccuracy, they shouldn't hit. Relying too hard on that naturally tough skin is going to get you in trouble later, when enemies start using guns that don't really care if they do just 20 less damage. The mess hall is an extremely important early research. With it, your gals will recover from wounds a damn sight quicker than without it. The base game systems weren't made to work with units that have health pools as high as ours can have, and a bad knock can put a girl out for multiple months without something to soothe the pain, like cafeteria food. Of course, saying you want a mess hall doesn't build it right away. We're 14 days out on that request. Let's just hope nothing bad happens in that time, huh? Why did that happen? Our brainers have interrogated one of the nurses while we've been off gallivanting around the world in search of gold and glory. They don't really have much on them, nor do they know anything of immediate value. When interrogating prisoners, you'll get the one screen describing them, and you'll tease out another random piece of information from a big list. These can be random items or weapons, or just world-building stuff, depending on what that type of guy might know. This lady gave us an unregistered hypercam tutorial hint. Thanks, I guess. Don't worry about the words that were on the screen there, by the way. It's all overblown nonsense. Hideout defense. Pfft. We also thought a little bit about recruitment. How are we going to handle it? For the longest time, the two options here were gals are superior, or we need a male touch. The former means we'll only recruit other mutant ladies. They'll be expensive, they'll take a while to get to us, and making this decision will be politically unpopular enough to lose us some points. We need a male touch allows us to recruit human mercenaries to our ranks. They're less good, but also less pricey. If you were wondering if the game treats its male subjects with the poise and character of its ladies, here's an unregistered hypercam bar of some dude's flaccid donger. The third option, Peasant Revolution, is a new one. It sounds fun, but only for the type of person who likes to reenact the Normandy beach landings in every mission. Importantly, all of these are mutually exclusive. You get one. Oh. Well then. Fuck. I remember when I first played this mod. Way back when I was just a small bean. I thought that was a misspelling of mutant program. I don't know what exactly the mutant program would be, but I'm sure we're all excited to find out, right? In actuality, pogroms occur when one of the world's minor factions decides to plan and execute an attack on a mutant-populated area. Mutants tend to just kind of want to get by, and will exist peacefully in little settlements,
separate to and apart from human society, right up until the point someone decides to go do a genocide on them. Mutants are also, kind of the thing that we are, so we do have a vested interest in curtailing this kind of behaviour. On a more mechanical level, pogroms occur exactly one time per month, and are equivalent to the base game terror missions. Compared to what we've been through, and perhaps even compared to base game terror missions, these missions are serious time. We're talking, somebody's probably gonna eat it tier. We're talking, I probably shouldn't even be there tier. And I don't have to be. XCOM not showing up to a terror mission would be minus 1,000 score. But pirates not showing up to stop a pogrom? That's just minus 100. We'd survive that easy. I've been messing around with some test games recently, and it looks a whole lot like there isn't a pogrom on the first month anymore on the current version. The one that went live a day before the series started. Fucking lucky us. We got a tough mission that isn't supposed to be here. It spawned close enough for us to get to it, which never happens. And we even got a full squad of girls in good health to undertake it. I am gonna need to think about this for a minute. The reward for stopping a pogrom isn't really the points or the money you stand to make, but the weapons we'd be able to acquire. Pogroms are instigated by a whole lot of villains at a time, and that means a whole lot of guns, ammo magazines, and hand grenades for us to hoover up. In addition, it's all stuff that's just a bit more powerful, accurate, and valuable than we'd likely find in regular missions for another little while. We don't necessarily have to actually win the mission either to benefit from it. It's fully possible to just clear out the immediate area around the craft, load as much loot from the bodies into the bus as you can fit, and then get out of there before anyone gets hurt. Well, anyone you know. People are gonna get hurt. It's all a matter of balancing risk and reward, you see. Risk, reward. Risk, reward. Fuck it. We're going. I'm pulling the trigger on this. Considering the sheer amount of fuck that's going to be in there, though, I think it's probably for the best that we cut this one a little short. Next episode is going to have a lot of something, and stands to be a long one. It's all pre-recorded, of course, so I know what's going to happen, but you'll see. The algorithm did seem to really enjoy the last one. As I'm talking, it's got like 1,800 views on it, which is almost... Hang on, let me just map this out. Carry the 4. 1,800 more views than I normally get, so that's a laugh, innit? I tried to rush another one out really quick to benefit from my assumedly short-lived popularity, but then I got the flu and couldn't talk for like a week. C'est la vie. Thanks for being here if you was here. Slam that like button, or whatever, and cross your fingers that through my labour I might once again please our Skynet overlords. I hope you had a good time. Please do have a wonderful day. I'm going to go get a lie down. Bye.